Hi, Neil. It's so nice to have you on the show. How are you doing today?
I'm very well, thank you, Elijah. It's a pleasure to meet you and a pleasure to be here.
Beautiful. I'm excited to have you on the show too, and thank you for being here. Okay, Neil, you see, I am quite excited to have you on the show, like I mentioned earlier, for some reasons. All right. Firstly, my interest in knowledge seeking, because I believe in order to transition from a chaotic situation to that of a beautiful one, I believe it takes the application of knowledge, quality information. And you see, Neil, ever since I discovered that light in the Hebrew means knowledge and darkness means ignorance, I've been so keen to knowledge seeking. Why? Because I do not want to remain in the dark. And the second reason why I'm excited to have Neil on the show is for the sake of the listeners. Neil, we live in an age where information is as abundant as grains of sand. We've got a lot of information flying out there. So these folks trust me for quality information. And that's why when I was reading a little bit about you, I realized that our conversation is going to be insightful. So for that reason, Neil, let's get started with your introduction. Talk to us about your personal or professional journey. We're just so curious. We want to know how you got here. And afterwards, I've gotten some beautiful questions for you. Okay, Neil, over to you.
Okay, perfect. I'll be quick about this. So I was born in 1960, live in the west coast of Canada, and youngest of six children. My father died when I was 5 years old. My mother had to go out and work, so it's 1965. And we were essentially kind of left to our own devices. Bottom line is, I decided after graduating high school and bumming around for a couple of years that I'd take engineering. So I have a professional engineer, and in my mid 30s, got an MBA. Uh, but in reality, the thing that we're here to talk about is, and this is all outlined in my book, by the way, A Higher Road by D. Neil Elliott. But I drove myself slowly and unbeknownst to me into this really deep, dark, despondent depression. And I spent a couple of years in that depressed state in 2015 to 2017. And by the time 2017 rolled around, I was that second marriage, three kids. And by the time 2017 rolled around, I was so done with life. I was in this really deep, dark, despondent state. And so we moved just fortuitously. Our house finally sold after being on the market for 5 years. We moved. We're in the city in this little one-bedroom rental apartment. And my wife got on an airplane to visit family and friends in the east coast of Canada. And I sat down at the kitchen table, crafted my suicide note, planned out my suicide. And I planned it out for about 3 months to ensure we get moved and my wife would be okay. And then I would, end up committing suicide in a way that my life insurance would pay out and she'd be looked after financially. A week prior to that, some information came to me that promised to liberate me from my thinking if I studied and followed it. And I was looking for any last sliver of hope. So I decided what I'd do is I'd study this information. And if it worked, that'd be great. And if it didn't, I could always pull the trigger, so to speak. Bottom line is that I embarked on that journey in late November 20, 2017. And over the course of a year, so late December 2018, and I was following this information. I had a practice. I did it every day. I was dedicated to it. And I was learning new knowledge that was cleansing my consciousness and realigning it to be back with where we come from before we're born and where we return to after we die, which is a state of unconditional love. And in late December 2018, after this year and a bit long of study, I went into these two meditations 2 days apart. And I got into this meditative state, and all of a sudden, just like in an instant, I was absolutely filled with unconditional love, and I was enveloped in unconditional love. I felt like I was a deep sea diver in the ocean, just suspended in this ocean of unconditional love. And I felt non-judged for anything I had done. I felt totally supported. I didn't care what aches and pains my body had, what illnesses it had. I just wanted to stay there forever. I came out of that meditative state. 2 days later, I had the exact same meditative state. And at that point, then I knew that this process I followed, and this information I learned that helped me cleanse my consciousness and rebuild it, brought me back to a state of where we are meant to be. And it's still an onward journey from then. I've been journeying, but we are meant to be in this state of pure, unconditional love while we are here on this earth. And we're meant to express that unconditional love to everyone and everything. And without judgment, uh, with caring and compassion. But to do this, after all of the learnings that we need to unlearn, there's still work that I needed to do, and I've been working on it since then. I can tell you, life just keeps getting better and better and better. It is so magical and so wonderful when you come back into alignment with our Creator.
Amazing, yeah. You see, I found your story very, very powerful and inspiring. And that part where you mentioned that we are meant to live in love, unconditional love. You see, something happened to me some years back before I saw the truth and I received the new life. You see, I used to be someone who judged people, and I judged them to condemnation. And I thought it was all right, okay? I thought it was the good thing to do, all right? Until I did something, and the folks who, you know, I was expecting them to judge me and call me names and do all sort of things, insult and all of these things. What they did melted my heart that day. They just embraced me and said, "It is okay. Everything is going to be fine." And there was a smile on their faces, and I felt like I was a crazy person for judging folks who did stuff. And these guys are just smiling at me and sharing encouragement stuff. And then that day I said to myself, definitely what they told me about Jesus and what they told me about the new life, all those things that I've learned about this Savior is true. For these folks not to judge me, then that means we are meant to live in an unconditional love. You know. So when you mentioned that part, it made me remember what happened that year, and you're just so right. And the second thing I learned from your journey and your story is when you get the right information with the right mindset, change will definitely occur in transformation. You said that you were just in need of last hope, something that can just change things around. Your mind was prepared for application, and you got the right information, and now you were able to apply the information, and it caused change. I got that. That's a very beautiful thing, I tell you, because not many people have the right mindset as to when it comes to consuming informations. So I got that. Okay, Neil, shall we get started with the questions?
Yes, please.
Okay, so let us talk about consciousness, all right? What role does consciousness play in our individual and collective lives? Can you talk to us about that?
Oh, I can. Consciousness, awareness. You can't have consciousness without awareness, and you can't have awareness without consciousness. Consciousness awareness is who we are. And what you think about moment by moment, day by day, will be reflected in your external environment in terms of things that come to you to help you learn the lesson about, essentially what you think about who you are internally, how you judge people, how you condemn people, how you criticize people. All of those things come back to you until you wake up and understand that you are creating your own environment and your own experience in your life. And if you are miserable and if you are sick, you are drawing those things to you with your thinking and your expression of those things. Now, I'm just not talking about the words we use because, essentially, everybody can wear a facade and they can project kindness and consideration to other people in the words they use in order to navigate through the world and work with other people in those things. But if their internal thoughts are negative and critical and condemning and judgmental of others, even though they might be using nice words to communicate to that person, it is your thinking that creates these things that come back to you. You think with electrical impulses in the brain, you feel with magnetic impulses in the nervous system. And your thinking is a creative consciousness plan, and your feeling magnetizes particles together to create this like event or like experience that will be manifest in your life at some point in the future. And when you understand that everything that you believe to be right or wrong, good or bad, true or false, is really just a belief, and that when you have the right information and the right tools and you follow the right practice with dedication and focus, you can actually slowly cleanse your consciousness of all of those false beliefs, all of those negative beliefs, all of those beliefs that draw to you things and events and experiences that you do not enjoy. You can change your consciousness to be in alignment with unconditional love. And when you do that, then your outer world starts to reflect that back to you. And it doesn't matter whether you live in the slum or you live in a mansion and you have millions of dollars. This happens to everyone and everything because we are all the same. We are all created from one creator. And we are all the same. Your soul, if you will, if you want to call it a soul or a spirit, is unconditional love. And how you behave in this world is merely a part of the process of creating individuality for us to experience the things we experience, to experience the light versus the dark, and to have these experiences that help us grow as spirits, as souls. Yes. So, the book is split up into 5 parts, and the first part is really, kind of what you're going to experience or learn as you read through my book, and it's to set the stage, if you will. And I describe this experience of being on the brink of suicide and how I got there in a very encapsulated way, and then I give the context of the book. Part Part 2 and 3 of the book, or part 2 of the book, is really a personal memoir, and I've been very candid with how I grew up and the kinds of things that shaped my thinking and feeling. And then I use examples that of things that came to me that I didn't like, or experiences I had that I didn't like, that slowly drove me into this really dark, deep, depressed state. And then part 3 of the book is really a chapter in consciousness. And it's really a chapter to bring everybody up to the same level, the same understanding, using the terms that I use to describe consciousness. And then I share some books that I read that helped me go through this process of understanding that everything I thought was right, wrong, good, bad, true, false is really just a belief. And then I read some books in epigenetics and neuroplasticity that helped me understand what I think about actually affects my biological health, and that with the right thinking, I can change all of that. And then I read a near-death experience book that I share with people about a woman who, in her 46 years of age, after 5 years of experiencing this very aggressive cancer, she got to a point where she needed 24/7 care. She had tumors from her head to her waist, some the size of lemons. Her body was riddled with cancer. She couldn't lift her head on her own. She couldn't walk on her own. She fell into a coma. They rushed her to the hospital. The admitting physicians told her family she wasn't going to make it through the night. She was in this coma. In 24 hours later, she woke up. She told her family and the doctors she was going to be totally fine. And in 2 weeks, they couldn't find a trace of cancer in her body. And this book is about her, what she described when she was in this coma, and the things that she brought back, that we come from unconditional love, that we are here to experience certain things, and so that really helped stretch my consciousness, and I thought it would be a good way to help people stretch theirs. And then what I do in the fourth part of the book is I share this information that I received, and I call it a blueprint document. And I share this information that I received, samples of it, to give people a sense of the material that I read, that I practiced, that I consumed, if you will, to help me go through this process of this inner cleansing and rebuilding of my consciousness and bringing me back into alignment with our Creator. And in part 5 of the book, what I do is I share what I experienced as I went through these 7 steps I offer for people to consider, to follow themselves, to have this kind of awakening and realignment and bring love, peace, joy, prosperity to their lives. If you go to ahigherroad.com, it takes you to my author website. On that, you can learn more about me. You can get a link to the book. The book is available in hardcover, paperback, or electronic version. It's available globally on Amazon or through all the various channels where books are available. And the thing that I would like to leave everybody is that you have a choice. And no matter whether you're ill or you're healthy, you're in a state of happy or depression, or you live in a mansion or you live on a street, you can totally change your life when you have the right mindset, and when you're open to learning something that you might not have considered in the past. When you're open to learning it and you come to it with an open mind, and you follow a process that gives you this new information in a way that makes sense to you, then you can, with faith and development and practice, you can totally change your life no matter where you are. And so I encourage everybody, no matter, there's many paths to the top of the mountain. This one is based in Newtonian science, and it's logical and it's rational, and it uses language that's easy to understand, but it gives concepts of how we create our lives and what we do to ourselves, and then how to come out of that and how to change your consciousness. It's simple. It's not necessarily easy because you have to deal with yourself. But if you're willing to deal with yourself and follow this process, I promise you that over time, life will change for you and you will not even recognize the person that you were in the past. Thank you, Elijah. It's a pleasure.